Happy, sunny, breezy Sunday to you, Grace Church. It's fantastic to all be together, and thank you for joining us on this last 3 weeks as we've been looking at the church's vision and values and plan for the next 5 years. So today we're going to be continuing with that, and we'll be looking at what it is that we actually do and what we're looking to actually want to do, okay? So let me just pray, and then we kick straight into it. Jesus, we thank you that we can be together, and we thank you that we can dream and plan, and we want to be on the ball with what you're doing, oh Jesus. You know, where you said you didn't do anything except what you saw the Father doing. We pray that a similar thing for us, that we wouldn't do anything that's out of your will, that's off what you want to do. We want to be as sharp as an arrow, going in and hitting the spot with what you want to do in our community, in our city, in our nation, and in our land. So Jesus, would you bless us now as we look and as we kind of chat together in your name. Amen. So like I say, the vision and values. So we've looked at kind of the values that we have and how we do it and that kind of stuff. And today we're looking at what we're actually physically doing. So in terms of this fella called Simon Sinek, he came up with the golden circle, as he referred to it. And he said that most organisations will tell you what they do and how they do it, and they maybe won't even get to why they do what they do in the first place. But he said the most successful organisations and businesses and all that kind of stuff, they know why they do what they do first, and then they'll tell you how they do it, and then they give the option to buy in if you want to. And so Josh challenged us on that as a leadership team to think about why we do what we do, how we do it, and then what we do. So in previous weeks, the why we do what we do as a church, we felt is based on John 3:16, which is, "For God so loved the world so much that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have eternal life." So because of Jesus, that's why we exist. We are a Jesus church, and we want to make him known. So that's why, okay? We're a church that love God and love people. So that's been our mandate from the start, and it will never change. In many ways, I see us as kind of like a no-frills church. You know, we just, like the whole, is it Ron Seal? He does what it says on the tin. One of them, anyway. That's what I want us to be. Love God, love people, make Jesus known. It's as simple as that. Nothing complicated about it. It's not rocket science. It's just living out our faith, living out who we are in Jesus. So, last we looked at how we move. So what is it, not what we do, but how we want to do, is that we said that we love and we welcome everybody unconditionally. So anybody and everybody is welcome in Grace Church. If you have a face, you fit. That we are relaxed and that we have fun together. So because joy is one of the fruits of the Spirit, and seriousness isn't. So we want to try and, as best we can, as we grow, still maintain an atmosphere of fun and lightheartedness as we are serious in chasing after the face of God. We believe in the Bible and we follow Jesus' teachings. So unashamedly, we are a Jesus church. We won't compromise on that. We will follow his teachings as hard as they are, because some of them are hard teachings and some of them are very difficult. But they're his teachings, and we're a Jesus church. And there's no getting around that. We're not like some kind of club or group or whatever. We're a Jesus church. We come together because we have Jesus in common. And like Licorice All Sorts, we're all very, very different. But we have Jesus running through us. We have licorice running through us. And the last one on that is that we dream big and we encourage you to dream bigger. And we'll be touching on that again today in terms of what it is that we actually do. So, moving on to the what. So some of these things, they were kind of more pre-COVID because, we could physically meet together there. Because the first one is we have engaging, family-friendly weekly meetings that are open and accessible to all. And of course, we haven't been able to do that since COVID. This is one we want to do. We want to facilitate a relaxed and fun community coffee shop for families and individuals to connect with their community. Number 3, we focus on building strong relationships and discipling each other through friendships, fun, and house groups. And then number 4, we encourage and support people to run with their individual visions from God. So those are kind of the 4 things that we do, really, and we're just going to kind of break them down and talk a little bit about each one of them. So the first one, again, is that we are a family-friendly church. We put on meetings every week which are accessible for anybody and everybody. So with that in mind, we are welcoming, we are warm, we are fun, and we are accessible to everybody. So in that way, we maintain that we don't dumb down anything, right? But we explain everything as best we can. Because someone said to me once, if you can't explain it, then you don't fully understand it yourself. So, I want to be a church that we don't use jargon that makes things difficult for people to understand, but we speak in plain language, plain English. Because that's what Jesus did, man. He used parables and stories and things that people could relate to. They were ordinary every day. So in terms of how we use our language and stuff like that, we are just ordinary every day in terms of our language and how we speak and the way that we communicate God's grace and God's love for everybody. So we don't dumb down, but we explain. So I make a point of whenever I reference something in the Bible, I try to make sure I say, look, you'll find it in this part here, which is this far through in the Bible or whatever, just to make it easier to understand. And whenever people speak, we try to put context behind it so you kind of get the understanding of what was happening at the day when it was written and all of that. So it's making things easy to understand. And I want us to create a church as much as we can, and this might be more difficult as we grow, where people can ask questions. Because talks provoke questions, and that's what we want. And it's good to ask questions. Do you know what I mean? It really is, because it shows a thirst for knowledge and all of that. So we want to be a church that welcomes people asking questions, and sometimes that might put the speaker on the spot. They might not have the answer there and then. They might have to go away and research it, and that's fine, because it's not an exam or a test. This is a faith walk, and we won't know everything until we get to glory, and that's just the way it is. So we want to be accessible and welcome for everybody. We don't have any membership. That people don't have to sign up to anything. They don't have to tithe and give if they don't want to. We're a community of people. Because I don't see membership as being a biblical thing in any way. It's all about, a community of people coming together, sharing Jesus and sharing life. So in that way then, we are not exclusive, we are inclusive. So if someone wants to come to a house group when they're up and running again, by all means they can. If someone wants to join our WhatsApp, by all means they can. Do you know what I mean? If somebody wants to come to the Zoom on a Tuesday evening, by all means they can. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to put any barrier in any way of anybody coming to Grace Church, because we exist for people out there. It's not an inclusive, insular group by any means. And if we do become like that, then we need to take a good hard look at ourselves and sort it out, because that's not what church is supposed to be. It's not a cozy kind of thing. It's an outward looking thing, and that's how we should be. So that's point number one, right? In terms of what we do, we want to be family friendly. So we want to try and, like Paul says in one of his letters in the New Testament, we want to try and become all things to all men, so that by all means we might win some. So with that in mind, we want to have men's stuff to reach men. We want to have ladies' stuff to reach the ladies. We want to have, kids specific stuff. And we've tried to do all of these things. And again, like I say, it's been difficult in COVID, but as things open up again, that's who we are, and that's what we want to be, and that's who we want to reach as people, and all different types of demographic of people. So, depending on where you work and what you do, then, we want to support you to reach your people, as best we can. Okay. So we're accessible to anybody and everybody. We want to create a church where people feel that they can invite anybody and everybody. And again, if we're not, we've got to ask ourselves, why not? Okay. Why is it you feel you can't invite somebody? Do you know what I mean? I wrestle with all of those things. So we want to create a place where people feel completely welcome, where they'll hear the good news about Jesus, and they'll meet some lovely people who genuinely love them. So that's point number one. Point number two is that we feel called to create a coffee shop and all that kind of stuff, a community coffee shop. But we'll thrash that out in the next 5 years. So we won't touch on that just now. So we'll move to point number three, keep you on the edge of your seat. So point number three is that one of the things that we do is we seek to build strong relationships. And let me get the right quote that we say here. Discipling each other through friendship, fun, and house groups. Okay, that's our aim, is to build strong relationships where people can be completely honest with one another. Because it's, again, and the beauty of this is trying to do it through house group, because it's difficult to do that on a Sunday. Being completely honest, you turn up on a Sunday and you set up all the equipment, that kind of stuff, and you try to chat to people as much as you can. And you may be doing something up the front, you may be doing the kids' work, whatever it is, but we have limited time on a Sunday, and we don't want to kind of dominate the meeting by people kind of sharing all their issues and stuff like that. Sometimes we have a specific purpose on a Sunday and someone's prepared a message and all of that kind of stuff, and it's fab. So Tuesday evenings is when we tend to do our house groups and stuff, and that's when we can really get to a great depth of relationship with people. And I would say even this year through Zoom now, right, through not being able to physically get together necessarily, but doing it that way, we still managed to build relationship. And it's great for someone, like Kit, who's come along, who's never actually seen people in the flesh. I've seen him. I know he's got legs and everything. It's brilliant. But even through doing Zoom, we still managed to build relationship. And, when we get together now Saturday morning as fellas, we're going to go for a walk or whatever, it's going to be great to see people in the flesh. Do you know what I mean? But we build strong relationships where we can be honest and open with one another and do life and share life together. And it's brilliant. So in terms of honest relationships, a couple of weeks ago we had a talk on conflict and how to resolve that and go into the person and talking it through with them rather than talking behind people's backs and all that, which is nonsense. And another talk we had recently was on hypocrisy and being real and being honest, and that's where house groups are brilliant. They're like, people said it's like church in miniature. So it's still a church, but it's just broken down into smaller groups so that you can get to know each other on a deeper level. And hopefully they're fun as well, because, a strong theme, hopefully running through Grace Church is that we like to laugh and that we like to have fun and that we like to be full of joy. So as best we can, as things start to open up again, men's stuff will start again, ladies' stuff will start again, and and if the kids are up for it, we'll try and do some provision for them as well, I want to thank Charlotte through lockdown as well, who did try to provide stuff on a weekly basis for the kids, and I know it's hard to engage sometimes because it's Zoom and we're not physically together and that, but I do want to honour her for her efforts there. It's been brilliant. So we build strong relationships and we disciple one another through being honest and having fun and spending time. Now, it's difficult to disciple one another if you don't see each other and if you don't share each other's lives. But we want to create environments where people feel that they can be honest. And if there's particular people that you connect with, then reach out to them and get together and have a coffee. I met with a fella yesterday from a completely different church, but we met through the CVM thing on a Monday called Mates. And he said, he wants to connect and share life and stuff. So reach out. It's brilliant, but let's not, no man is an island. We work better when we're in relationship with one another. As it says here, the life is better with friends. Yeah. And that's who we want to be. So, and then the fourth point is that we encourage people to have their own God-given dreams and to run with that. And as a leadership, how can we support that? How can we support you to reach people that some of us will never get to reach, will never get to see, because they're your work colleagues, they're your friends or whatever? How can we serve that? What vision have you got to reach Clace? What is it that God has called you to do? And again, how can we support that? I read, I quoted Simon Sinek this morning, who came up with the Golden Circle thing. But on LinkedIn, any of you on LinkedIn? I know it's kind of one of those things that dies a death a bit, but I'm on LinkedIn. And someone posted one of Simon Sinek's quotes this morning that says, a great leader doesn't have to come up with all the ideas, but they have to create an environment that ideas flow. And Les yesterday, he sent me this brilliant teaching by John MacArthur, and he was given a bit of a critique on the last president of the US and why things maybe went wrong for him. And part of the talk was all about how we need one another as leaders and we need to honour and esteem one another. And I need you, right? It's like Uncle Sam thing. I need you, right? I need you to come up with your ideas. I need you to serve. I need you to do what God has called you to do. I don't want you to be frustrated or feel held back in any way, shape or form, and if we can support you to do what God has called you to do, then let's do that, because we are richer when we're all taking part. The church is more... Well, we release all the God colours that God has put in us when we all do our thing, do our part and take... It's just brilliant. And that's always been my heart, is that people will do what God has called them to do so they feel fulfilled in the kingdom. Because sometimes, having a job or having a role within church is what keeps us coming in some senses when things get really hard. And, if we're honest about it. So let's be doing that. So those are like the points 1 3 and 4. Now we're going to look at point number 2, which is about the coffee shop, okay? And that it comes under the next 5 years, right? So there you are, next 5 years. So we've been given a building. Last May, we were given the keys to St. Tylo's on the Clace, and there's about 32 years left on the lease. And we're kind of praying about, God, what do you want us to use this building for? You know, because you've given us fantastic building. You know, what can we be a blessing in the community for? How can we get the community in through the doors of that building? How could, you know, all of those things, and you know, yeah, because he's given us a building, so how can we use it? So as a team, we were kind of praying. Really felt God was saying, you know, to open a coffee shop that would run, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, which will be a place where the community can come in and feel completely welcomed. Because you know, with COVID and stuff like that, people haven't been able to get together. As things start to open up now, you know, people will be looking for opportunities and places to meet and get together. So that is what we feel God is calling us to do, is to have a coffee shop that will be open. Eventually, we'd like to maybe employ local people to work in the coffee shop as well. We'd like to, you know, open it up so people can hire rooms and stuff like that. People like Beth Pike, who works in the area, it'd be somewhere that she can take people as she's walking alongside. There'd be a toilet there. There'd be Wi-Fi there. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, that type of place. And if we think that, you know, within our area, there's lots of schools and there's the DVLA, but there's nowhere necessarily for people to meet and sit down and have a coffee, either before they pick the kids up or just after or on a lunchtime, anything like that. So we feel that, you know, this is the way forward in terms of trying to get people through the door on a daily basis who would maybe never ever come in through a church door. They would feel so comfortable on a Monday to Friday that they would just slip seamlessly into a Sunday, and they would feel comfortable coming in on a Sunday because we have exactly the same feel. So in that way then, we want to become like a cafe style church. So what that means is that we would run our meetings, you know, kind of informally, formally as we can, quite chilled out and relaxed. But we would still be able to serve teas and coffees and stuff like that throughout, so that the people who are used to coming in on a Monday to Friday and having their cup of tea, having their cup of coffee, would still feel as welcome on a Sunday as they do any other day of the week. So that's what we feel God has called us to do. But the building is well, it's old and it's had no work done to it over, you know, numerous years, and it needs a lot of complete revamp, to be fair. It's got no insulation, the windows just bleed, you know, heat, all of that kind of stuff. We had an architect that we were working with over the last year, but we've had to cut ties with him because he ill health and he was quite slow. So now we've got a new architect. This one we're paying. The one we had before wanted to do the job for free, which we thought was a blessing, but maybe not. But this guy now that we've got, please pray for him. His name is Wes. He's a community counsellor in Clydach. So he's a local boy. He's a young fella. He's super keen. And he seems really good, to be fair, so far. So as soon as he's got plans that get passed by the trustees and all that kind of stuff, we will show them to the church, hopefully get you guys excited, get, you know, understand, get behind it, and really pray into it, like, you know. So because this is what we want to see within the next 5 years is a thriving coffee shop, potentially ploughing our income back into the community through projects or charities or whatever, really. And we'll talk a little bit about how we'd like the building to be used and some ideas that we have already. But in order to do this, it costs a lot of money. So please do pray, because God has got all the money that we need, you know. We've completely bitten off more than we can chew, which is fantastic, because that's what faith is all about. When God challenges you to do something, he doesn't look at your bank balance, he looks at your heart. And if you've got a dream or that isn't bigger than you are, then maybe your dream isn't big enough, like, you know. So we're trusting God that, God, if this is what you want us to do, you'll release the finance and we'll give you all the glory, because that's where it belongs, and away to go, right? So that's what we'd like to do. Some of the things we'd like to use the building for, I mean, classically, churches often do like a parent and toddler group. So there's no reason why potentially we couldn't do that. Get the stuff in. As long as we got some storage space, then we could do that. If we do a parent and toddler group, which tends to be mums, if we're honest, right? With my background in parenting and working with fathers, I'd love to once a month, every Saturday morning, maybe do a Who Let the Dads Out. So it's a dads and their little ones would come along. And it's a way of trying to kind of get in with the fathers of the area and be a father figure and all that. Like, do you know what I mean? I'd love that. It might not get off the ground. It might just be a good idea. It might not be a good idea, but let's explore. Something Emma is really, really passionate about is drug help within the area, because there's a lot of drug issues going on within the Clace area, and if you want help and support, you have to go into town. But what Emma's really keen that maybe we set something up within our building for local people to access. And I know that a couple of people at the minute are going to Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian drug help place within Port Talbot, and so there's their logo there, CR. So it'd be worth us exploring, Emma and whoever else, links with them and seeing whether or not we could maybe kind of use them and open up our own Celebrate Recovery in Clace. So these are just some ideas that we have for the building, because we want the building to be used for God's glory and for whoever wants to come in. But what ideas have you got? What dreams have you got? And not just about the building, but reaching Clace in general, like, do you know what I mean? Because that's what we want, is we want the building to be used. We want it to be a thriving place where people feel completely welcome, and then, find faith. Because, right, as people walk through that door, and as they feel the love of God through each and every one of you, because you're a welcoming church that loves people, we are going to grow. Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. We've been tucked away in a little scout hut that you've got to be a scout to find, because it's quite hard. We fill the place up and it feels a bit uncomfortable. There's no room for growth, really. It's very difficult. But as we move into a big place and there's not that many of us and we rattle around in there, we will grow. It'll be a welcoming place where people want to come in. Within 5 years, I would hope that we reach about 150 people. At which point we'll probably be maxing out the building. And then the question is, what do we do? Do we just go to more meetings? I don't really fancy that. Or do we look at planting another church? That's where my heart would be, is planting another church. I'm not sure that I kind of am full fussed on big churches or whatever. I think maybe the way to go is smaller churches and lots of them. So with that in mind, my heart has always been, number one, to release people to do whatever God has called them to do. So if that's serving in church, whether you be speaking, leading worship, kids work, making teas and coffees, whatever it is that you feel God has called you to do, and we can test some of these things out in house group in a safe place there, rather than publicly kind of put you up there on a Sunday and everything goes to pot or whatever, because it is hard. But whatever God has called you to do, I want people to be released in that. So with that in mind, like a couple of years ago, Brian did a teaching for our teaching team, people who are on the teachings, they do the talks and that kind of stuff. And we had about 10, 11 people turn up to that. And it's fantastic, and so the people who speak on a Sunday, it doesn't come down to 1 or 2 people doing that. It's a team of people. Why? Because when the time comes to split and plant another church, we've got people who are ready to go. We've got people who are trained up. We've got people who feel comfortable and confident doing that. So it's always thinking about the next step ahead rather than just the here and now. When we were in the scout hut, I always used to speak using a microphone. I didn't need to, but why? To get myself ready for the big building. Do you know what I mean? So you're thinking that step ahead. It's not just the here and now, the small. It's the where is God taking us? So in 5 years' time, I'm hoping and praying that we're at the point where we can plant another church. Wherever that may be, whether that be into Morriston, Llangefell, wherever, I don't know, do you know what I mean? But that's my heart's desire, is that, number one, that we grow. Physically, we grow. We get more people coming through the door. We get more people saved, freshly saved. Not just people coming from other churches because they sense a sense of life, but people who are freshly saved from the ground up, from Clace up. And homegrown people, that's what we want. And then as a result then, when we grow, to be able to plant. So we got people trained up in leading worship. We got people trained up in kids stuff. We got people trained up in lots and lots of different things because they've had the opportunity already. So that's what it's all about. That's where we're aiming for the next 5 years. So what do? We build strong relationships with each other. We disciple one another through fun and friendship. And that takes commitment, and it takes time, and it takes effort. And it doesn't happen if people don't get together or don't give themselves to it. which is why I love the fact that the WhatsApps ping away and relationships are built and people look forward to seeing one another. What else do we do? Well, we're planning for the future. We feel God is calling us to open a coffee shop and to use that building for his glory as many days a week as we can, to get as many people in as we can so that they feel comfortable Monday to Friday and slip seamlessly into Sunday. It's no different. What else do we do? Well, we encourage people to run with their own God-given vision. We want to see people trained up. And the last thing we want to do within the next 5 years is we want to grow. Grow, grow, grow for God's glory. And he will bring the growth, but we got to do our part in that as well. We got to create the situation ready for it. So please do pray into those things, right? Give yourself to fun and friendship within the church. Dream about what God has called you to do. Where do you see yourself within 5 years? Because that's where I see us as a church being in 5 years, is growing and doing all that. But where do you see yourself? Has God given you a mission for the next 5 years? I don't want to be the same man in 5 years' time that I am now. I don't want to be the same man in 5 months' time, I want to be walking closer with Jesus. I want to be spending time with him that has him rub off on me and I reflect more of his glory. So that's the plan. So hopefully we can get together on Tuesday and talk about it. And then we got our first men's outing on Saturday morning, which would be great. And then we're looking to do some stuff then next week as well, because the rules open up from Monday, tomorrow, that we can have up to 30 people meeting together outside. So we'd be looking to get people together then and do some stuff with that. So again, if you've got any ideas there, please do let us know. Because again, like the fella said, leaders don't have to come up with the ideas themselves, but they have to create the environment where other people can have ideas. And that's what we want, is want your God-given ideas, your God colours coming out. So let me just pray. Father, I thank you that we love you, that we're a church that loves you, Jesus. And I pray that as we love you, that we would encourage others to love you, that we would let your love for us out and it would shine to other people. And Jesus, we want to see ourselves grow numerically as a church. We want to see fresh salvation coming in. We want to see the neighbours on the streets, Lord. We want to be gospel people. We want to be good news to the people of Place, proclaiming good news that you love them, Lord, and that you've done everything possible for them to know you. So Jesus, we pray that we'd be introducing people to you this year. And Father, we want to pray for the building that you've given us, Lord, and it is more than we can chew. It's more than we can afford, and all of those things, Father. It is a faith journey, and we trust you, God, that if that's what you've called us to do, we want to do what you've called us to do, Father. We want to be obedient. We want to have a go for Jesus. We want to have the well done, my good and faithful servant, that we've served and we've had a go. So Jesus, I pray that you cause Grace Church, each and every member, to rise up into their God-given giftings and abilities to serve you in whatever way that may be. In your name. Amen. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Fellas, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. Enjoy the sunshine. Get some sun cream on.